Questions. Will the contractor have started work by the 6th? Yes, he will have started. Do you think the contractor will have completed the roof by the end of the first week? Yes, I think so. In the conversation, one of the friends has asked questions and are answered by her friend. Here are some example sentences. Will the contractor have started work by the 6th of this month? Do you think the contractor will have completed the roof by the end of the first week? Definition. A question is anything we write or say which requires a response. It ends up with a question mark. It begins with WH words or with an auxiliary verb. Questions can be affirmative or negative. Usage. The word order for a question with auxiliary verb is modal plus subject plus main verb plus object or predicative complement. In yes or no questions, we put the first part of the verb in front of the subject. For all verbs except be and have, we use do or does or did to make yes or no questions in the simple present and past. We sometimes use what or which with a noun. Usually in a question with a verb and a preposition, the preposition comes at the end. For WH questions, we use the phrases with a question word. Let us look at a few example sentences. Has your father ever driven a car at 250 miles per hour? Question using has plus past participle of the verb. Could you have bought a chicken curry, plain rice, a fruit salad and a cup of tea if you had only 70 rupees? Question using an auxiliary verb. Why do you think the climbers in places moved one at a time? Do you think after a question word? How are the first 3 verses different from the rest of the poem? Question using how. Here are some more examples. Do you agree with the statement? In what ways does the baby bat depend on its mother? Why do each card and each move have to be told? Was the film as good as the novel? Forming questions and reporting questions. Why are you doing like this?
I beg your pardon, ma'am. It was Nandini who suggested me to do like that and asked whether the solution was correct or not.
Nandini is always confused. Will you listen to such a person? In the conversation, the teacher asked some questions to her student, and in reply, the student has also reported the questions of another student to the teacher. Here are the example sentences. Why are you doing like this? Direct question. It was Nandini who suggested me to do like that and asked whether the solution was correct or not. Indirect or reported question. Will you listen to such a person? Direct question. Definition. A question is anything we write or say which requires a response. In reporting questions, the indirect speech is introduced by some such verbs as asked, inquired, etc. Usage. When asking questions directly, write them within the inverted commas. When we report questions, change the reporting verb to ask or inquire. The question mark to a comma. The interrogative to assertive. The tense, pronouns and adverbs. Note: when we report yes or no questions, we use if or whether. Let us look at a few examples of direct and indirect questions. Where do you live? Asked the stranger. Direct question with WH word. Do you suppose you know better than your own father? Jeered his angry mother. Direct question using auxiliary verb. The traveller asked the peasant if he could tell him the way to the nearest inn. Reported question using auxiliary verb can. Rama asked Sudha why she would be scolded for those mistakes. Reported question using WH word. Here are some more examples. Why should I help you? Said the man. The policeman inquired where we were going. Riddhi said, who will find out the name of that old man? Rita inquired whether she could play with him. Asking and answering negative questions.
Yash really wants to have a pet, but he's allergic to cats and dogs. Why doesn't he get some other kind of pet? Yes, I suppose he would. Can't he get a fish or a bird?
In the conversation, Bhushan uses negation and Arjun responds to them very well. Here are the example sentences. Why doesn't he get some other kind of pet? Yes, I suppose he would. Can't he get a fish or bird? In the first sentence, not is added with the auxiliary verb and it is contracted as well. In the next sentence, Bhushan responds in a positive way saying yes, which denotes that he might be interested in having some other pet. In the last sentence, auxiliary verb is contracted with not to make it negative. Definition. Negative interrogative sentences are interrogative sentences that are made negative. In addition to asking literal questions, negative interrogative sentences are often used to imply that the speaker is expecting a certain answer. Usage. We generally form the negative interrogative by adding the word not. To make the auxiliary verbs negative, we add the word not after the subject of the sentence. To make the WH question sentences negative, we add not either immediately after the subject of the sentence or contract it with the auxiliary verb. While answering a negative question, we should always use an explanation of our answer following yes or no. Let us look at a few examples. Don't you have a penny in your pocket? Not is contracted before the subject. Why haven't we left yet? Negative WH question where not is contracted before the subject. Aren't we taking a trip in the winter? No, we aren't. With auxiliary verb plus negative reply. Have you not been to the party? Not used after the subject as it is not contracted. Here are some more examples of negative questions. Doesn't 2 plus 2 make 4? Why won't they return from Mars? Haven't they lived together for over 40 years? Wasn't she crying on seeing the Demon King? Yes, she was. WH questions with how, what, which, and who. How many times have I asked you not to smoke in my presence? Which person are you referring to? Not you, I'm referring to Raju. What shall I do to stop him from smoking? Raju, can't you quit smoking? Look how worried my friend is. In the conversation, the friends have used question words like how, which, and what. Here are the example sentences. How many times have I asked you not to smoke in my presence? Which person are you referring to? What shall I do to stop him from smoking? Definition: WH question is a question in English introduced by a WH word that requires information in answer rather than yes or no. Usage: in the case of WH questions, the WH word comes first. It is followed by the verb. The auxiliary verb, if there is one, comes first, and then by the subject. The subject inversion is necessary in WH questions, except when the WH word itself is the subject. When we ask negative WH questions, we use the auxiliary verb do when there is no other auxiliary or modal verb, even when the WH word is the subject of the clause. We can use WH words and phrases after prepositions in more formal questions. Let us look at a few examples. When will the Prime Minister visit our college? There is inversion. Who broke the glass? No inversion. Which door didn't open? Negative with auxiliary do. From where will the money come? WH word used after preposition. Here are some more examples. When do the boys take off their heavy coats? Where are you going to spend the summer vacation? For what reason did she leave him? Whom should we send the invitation to?